Are you guys all ready for them to come on in?
It actually was the e-bug for
All good
the
for everybody?
Blues for the first few rounds until Thunderbirds got
Any
out of
last
the
words?
So my mom lives down there in Fort Myers Beach.
Okay.
And we were headed down to see her this weekend.
Yeah.
And so my cousin actually works for the
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Cambridge FFA. Cambridge FFA, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Cambridge FFA, nice to meet you. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Morning, nice to meet you.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you. How's it going?
Nice to see you.
All right, Cambridge. First thing, we want to welcome you this morning to your state contest, and we wanted to congratulate you on advancing to this level. A few procedural things just to get started. The clock is behind you here, or in front of you here. Can everybody see the clock?
Yes.
Okay? We're not going to be giving you warnings or anything like that because you have the clock there. Okay? You are allowed to write on the cards that are at your stations. And Madam Chairperson, you have some extra paper up there. You're welcome to write on any of that. The only thing is when you leave the room after the demonstration and after the questions, you are not allowed to take anything with you. The cards, the papers, everything has to stay here. Okay? All right, so do you have any questions for us before we get started?
Nope.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and start by giving you your 1 minute time. And during that time, you can look at your cards and you can write on them or whatever, but you can't share with anybody else. So, okay? All right, Emma, we'll go ahead and get started. You guys can have a seat and we'll get going. All right, you guys can go ahead and get started.
The meeting room will come to order. We are now holding a meeting of the Cambridge FFA chapter. Madam Vice President, are all officers at their stations?
I shall call the roll of officers, determine if they are at their stations, and report back to you, Madam President. The Sentinel.
Stationed by the door.
Your duty is there.
Through this door pass many friends of the FFA. It is my duty to see that the door is open to our friends at all times and that they are welcome. I care for the meeting room and paraphernalia. I strive to keep the room comfortable and assist the President in maintaining order.
The reporter.
The reporter is stationed by the flag.
Why by the flag?
As the flag covers the United States of America, so I strive to inform the people in order that every man, woman, and child may know that the FFA is a national organization that reaches from the state of Alaska to the Virgin Islands and from the state of Maine to Hawaii.
The treasurer.
Stationed at the emblem of Washington.
Your duty is there.
I keep a record of receipts and disbursements, just as Washington kept his farm accounts carefully and accurately. I encourage thrift among the members and strive to build up our financial standing through savings and investments. George Washington was better able to serve his country because he was financially independent.
The secretary.
Stationed by the Air Corps.
Your duty is there.
I keep an accurate record of all meetings and correspond with other secretaries wherever corn is grown and FFA members meet.
The advisor.
Here by the owl.
Why stationed by the owl?
The owl is a time-honored emblem of knowledge and wisdom. Being older than the rest of you, I must advise you from time to time as the need arises. I hope that my advice will always be based in true knowledge and ripened with wisdom. Madam Vice President, why do you keep a plow at your station?
The plow is the symbol of labor and tillage of the soil. Without labor, neither knowledge nor wisdom can accomplish much. My duties require me to assist at all times in directing the work of our organization. I preside over meetings in the absence of our president, whose place is beneath the rising sun.
Why is the president so stationed?
The rising sun is the token of a new era in agriculture. If we will follow the leadership of our president, we shall be led out of the darkness of selfishness and into the glorious sunlight of brotherhood and cooperation. Madam President, all officers are at their stations.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. The Secretary will call the roll of members.
There are 7 members and 8 guests present, Madam President.
Thank you. FFA members, why are we here?
To practice brotherhood, honor agricultural opportunities and responsibilities, and develop those qualities of leadership which an FFA membership possess.
May we accomplish our purposes. I now declare this meeting of the Cambridge FFA chapter duly open for the transaction of business or attendance of any matter which may properly be presented. Is there any new business which should properly come before this meeting?
Madam President!
Maggie.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Cambridge FFA sponsor a family farm to fork dinner for FFA members and their families this fall.
Thank you. Is there any seconds?
Second.
It has been moved by Maggie and seconded by Hannah that the Cambridge FFA chapter sponsor a family farm to fork dinner for FFA members and their families this fall. May I remind you that this is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. Maggie, since you are the maker of the motion, you have first rights to debate.
Thank you, Madam President. I am in favor of this motion, for I know that lots of people in our chapter and their families love a quick and easy dinner. I also know that the farmers in our community would love to host this event. I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President!
Ella.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm in favor of this motion, as I personally know some people who do not have a family to sit down and eat with, so this may be comforting for them to have people join them while they're eating. Additionally, we can make it educational and have a presentation showing just how the food goes from the farm to the fork. Therefore, I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President!
Chloe.
Thank you, Madam President. I am for this motion because, as Ella said with the presentation, we could have our middle school members create the presentation so as they're getting in their FFA, they can learn. As well as there may be parents who don't even know about how our food gets to the grocery store. So this would be very educational. I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President!
Avery.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm against this motion. In fall, we have sports going on such as cross country, football, and volleyball that students will not be able to attend this because of the sports. Also, we have a lot going on at this time, such as Living to Serve Day and Line Day tonight. Therefore, I urge you all to vote against this motion.
Madam President!
Hannah.
Thank you, Madam President. I am in favor of this motion, for this would directly support our FFA motto, Living to Serve. What better way for us to serve our community than to host this event? As well as, this directly supports the real meaning of the FFA to show leadership and develop relationships with our members. Therefore, I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President.
Race.
Thank you. I'm entirely for this motion, as we need to start planning fall events immediately, and community members will be happy to do this. I urge you all to vote for this motion.
Madam President,
Ella.
I move to refer this motion to the Growing Leaders Committee.
Thank you. Is there any seconds?
Second.
It has been moved by Ella and seconded by Hannah to refer this motion to our Growing Leaders Committee. May I remind you that this is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. Ella, you have first rights to debate.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm in favor of this motion because the Growing Leaders Committee is full of leaders who I'm sure would love to lead this event and show their leadership skills. Therefore, I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President!
Hannah.
Thank you, Madam President. I am in favor of this motion, for I am on this committee, and I know that this is a very strong committee, as well as we have held events just like this using this committee, such as the Line Dance Net, where we had food provided. Therefore, I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President.
Chloe.
Thank you, Madam President. I am against referring this motion to a committee because this motion is a great idea, and we should talk about it now before we forget some of the things that we talked about. As well as we have an open calendar right now, so we should get a date put down before our calendar fills up with other events. So I urge you all to vote against this motion.
Madam President.
Race.
I'm against this motion because things like chaperones will not be necessary as students and children will have families to protect them. Also, we have engaged and willing Fairly Farm families who will be honored to sponsor for this. I urge you all to vote against this motion.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote.
All in favor of referring this motion to our Growing Leaders Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no.
No.
This motion fails.
Madam President,
Maggie.
I move to amend the main motion by striking out FFA members and their families and inserting the community, so that the motion now reads, I move that the Cambridge FFA sponsor a family farm to fork dinner for the community this fall.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Maggie and seconded by Avery to amend the main motion by striking out FFA members and their families and inserting the community. The motion now reads, I move that the Cambridge FFA sponsor a family farm to fork dinner for the community this fall. May I remind you that this is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. Maggie, you have first rights to debate.
Thank you, Madam President. I am in favor of this motion. For why would we just give this meal to our members and their families? I know the whole community would love this meal. Also, we have the funding to feed the whole community. I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President.
Avery.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm against this motion. We have such a big community that we have no place to fit all of these members. Also, we have... Thank you. No, I'm against this motion.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. All in favor of amending the main motion by striking out FFA members and their families and inserting the community, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no.
No.
This motion fails.
Madam President.
A division has been called for by Hannah. We will now vote by more accurate means. All in favor of amending the motion, please stand. Thank you. All opposed, please stand. Thank you. With 1 in the affirmative and 5 in the negative, this motion fails.
Madam President.
Ella.
Thank you, Madam President. I am in favor of this motion, as it would be a great summer activity to sit out and enjoy the fresh summer air. Additionally, it would not be too costly, as we could host it right here in Cambridge. Therefore, I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President.
Hannah. Thank you, Madam President. I'm in favor of this motion. For as a reporter, it is my duty to get the news about the FFA out, and this will be the perfect opportunity to do that. As well as, with their new ag building, this will possibly recruit new middle school members to join the FFA going into high school. Therefore, I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President.
Maggie.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm in favor of this motion. For everybody in our community and us members would love this meal. Also, the weather is getting nicer, so we could host this event outside. I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President.
Chloe.
I move for a 5-minute recess.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Chloe and seconded by Avery to have a 5-minute recess. May I remind you that this is not debatable, but amendable and requires a majority vote. Are there any amendments? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. All in favor of having a 5-minute recess, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no.
No.
This motion fails.
Madam President.
Avery.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm against this motion. As we already have a meeting this April that we invite all the family members to have a dinner. Also, we have harvest season during this, so a lot of people won't be able to make it. Therefore, I urge you all to vote against this motion.
Madam President.
Race.
Thank you. I am for this motion, as this will give hands-on experience to all ages on farms for AT credits and introduction for younger students. Also, the FFA Creed speaks of living and enjoying farm life, to which this motion upholds. I urge you all to vote for this motion.
Madam President.
Chloe.
Thank you, Madam President. I am for this motion because we could serve healthy options for people that some may not have access to at home, as well as this would be a great way to have volunteer hours for graduation. So I urge you all to vote in favor of this motion.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote on the main motion. All in favor that the Cambridge FFA chapter sponsor a family farm to fork dinner for FFA members and their families this fall, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no.
No.
This motion passes. Madam Secretary, do you have a record of any further business which should now be transacted?
I have none, Madam President.
Does any member know of any new or unfinished business which should properly come before this meeting? We are about to adjourn this meeting of the Cambridge FFA chapter. As we mingle with others, let us be diligent in labor, just in our dealings, courteous to everyone, and above all, honest and fair in the game of life. Fellow members and guests, join me in a salute to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I now declare this meeting adjourned. Please rise for questioning.
All right, Cambridge, we're going to go ahead and get started with your oral questions. Please remember that during this time, you and you alone are going to be answering the question. Nobody can help you with your particular question. okay? For the vice president, the motion was to call for a recess. In the form that you presented this motion in your demonstration, is the motion to take from the table something that is debatable or amendable?
Could you please repeat the question?
In the form that you presented this motion during your meeting, is the motion to take a recess debatable or amendable?
The motion to take a recess is only amendable.
Are there any circumstances in which the motion to take a recess is debatable?
No, there are no times.
Okay. All right. For the reporter, division of the assembly. When a member calls for a division of the assembly, you are requiring the chairman to do what?
This requires the chairman to hold a standing vote to get more accurate means.
Okay. Under what circumstances can a chairman deny your request to call for a division?
Under no circumstances can a member deny.
Okay. For the secretary, secretary's down there, okay, you do not have a required motion. So in a business meeting, what are minutes?
Minutes are the new business in time that from the last meeting.
Okay. As secretary, you're supposed to prepare these minutes. What happens to them after that, after this meeting?
After this meeting, the minutes are not said again.
Okay. And for the treasurer, the amendment, what's the difference between a first degree and a second degree amendment?
A first degree amendment is when you are striking out something, and a second degree amendment is when you are inserting something.
Okay. And if you have a main motion, a first degree amendment, and a second degree amendment, all on the floor pending at the same time, what order are these motions voted on?
Can you repeat the question?
If you have a main motion, first degree, and a second degree amendment on the floor, all at the same time, what order are these motions voted on?
The order that these motions are voted on would be First Amendment, Second Amendment, and main motion.
Okay? All right. For the Sentinel, the motion you were required was to refer to a committee. All right? You cannot just state, I move that we refer this to a committee. You have to provide additional details. Give me an example of some details you must provide in your motion.
When you are referring a motion to a committee, you must provide what committee you are referring it to, such as the Growing Leaders Committee, the Building Communities Committee, and the Strengthening Agriculture Committee.
Okay? And then your second question, what is a standing committee?
A standing committee is a committee formed just for a specific task and then is later dissolved.
Okay? For the student advisor, again, no required motion. Your team demonstrated an amendment and a referral. What is the motion immediately above these motions in the order of precedence? And what is the motion immediately below them in the order of precedence?
Referral is ranked higher among amendment.
Okay, so the question is, what motion, not the amendment or the referral, what motion is immediately higher in the order of precedence than those two, and what motion is lower?
Only on the table would be lower, and postpone indefinitely would be lower.
Okay? And for your chairperson, when, as a chairperson, when do you vote?
I vote when there is a tie.
Okay? Any other time?
no other time.
And can you debate a motion?
Yes, I can debate a motion.
Can you explain how that's done?
I believe I would take the place of the vice president.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Cambridge, you did a nice job. You can go ahead and leave your papers right on the table, and then you're free to go.